My ex cheated on me with one of our friends. I shared her Reddit account, where she complains about his family, with his sisters. Now they message me whenever she posts something crazy. My ex and I broke up a few years ago. He was a terrible boyfriend for so many reasons that I won't bother going into. One of the reasons, though, was that he was a serial cheater. I was young, super sheltered, and as a result very naive, so I stayed way longer than I should have. I had a niche hobby that his girl best friend was also very into. I came across a post on that subreddit in which the story and setting sounded eerily similar to my life. I looked at the OP's profile and sure enough, it was his best friend, let's call her Mary. One of her posts caught me off guard though. She had posted in a relationship subreddit shortly before the one I found, saying that she was in love with her best friend, that he and her were going on dates, like movies when he said he was at school studying, behind my back, and she made up all sorts of things to try to justify it. For instance, she said that I was a lesbian and had threatened to leave him for someone at work. She also laid out her plans for one day moving into our apartment, the one that I was paying the rent on, not him. I confronted her about it. It was explosive. She confirmed it was her but felt righteously justified because they're so in love, and he and I broke up shortly after. It's been about 4 years since then, and I've moved to another state, finished my master's degree, have a great job and a wonderful boyfriend, the real revenge. But every now and then I'd check her Reddit name because the things she posted were so unhinged it was entertaining. I don't know how she seems to have forgotten that I knew of her account. Please note, she is a privileged white girl who grew up in LA to parents who are both professors. When I knew her, she had recently switched her major to art and spent all day crossfade, drawing nudes of herself. When you think, privileged LA white girl who thinks Starbucks being closed is a struggle, she is who comes to mind. But in one post, she said she was a single father who just bought his first home after years of struggling to keep a job, and in another she claims to be a black Muslim woman who's being judged for her religion by her boyfriend's family. In this post, she claimed that her boyfriend's family called her ugly and kicked her out of the house for being an ugly Muslim woman. His sisters really liked me and I think were glad, for my sake, when we broke up. So they've kept in touch even though I didn't really make an effort because I thought that would be weird. A few months ago, one of his sisters reached out and mentioned they were all going to meet Mary for the first time in person. They also live out of state. She happened to reach me when I was drunk and I said, "What? I thought you had already met given that you kicked her out and called her ugly?" His sister was in total shock and didn't believe me at first. Apparently, they'd never even met in person. They certainly hadn't called her ugly. I sent her screenshots of the posts and other posts which clearly show her pets and the area she lives to prove it was really her, and his sister was blown away. Now, I no longer have to check her account for entertainment. Whenever she posts something delusional, his sisters laugh about it together and message me. "Did you know Mary saved a child from drowning?" Guess what? Mary suddenly has 4 kids now, and we're all real jerks to them. I never noticed that Mary is Asian. How did we not notice? Etc. Mary is extremely insecure, and I know it'll be absolutely crushing to her when they ultimately let it slip that they know she's been bashing their family behind their back for 4 years now. She desperately wants approval and acceptance, and I doubt she'll ever get it from them. I think it's hilarious because I feel like I barely did anything. I didn't say anything for almost 4 years, and really it was a drunken mishap. P.S. Mary posted almost 4 years ago that her boyfriend had started saving for a ring. Yes, right after we broke up. I wonder what's taking so long. Edit. For the small number of dorks are like, move on already. I'm convinced that you've been involved in cheating, and the thought that other people might still think poorly of you, no matter how long it's been, annoys you. It's not anyone else's responsibility to make you feel better about your choices. Part of me moving on is no longer keeping his or her secrets. I always tried to be the bigger person and would keep problems in our relationship, like him cheating, to myself. So many of our mutual friends thought that they were f***ing weirdos and I wouldn't engage in the conversation, even after we broke up in an attempt to be respectful. But at some point that just becomes codependency on someone else's feelings. Sometimes moving on means confronting the truth and letting go of the obligation to protect the other person's reputation, especially if they're not even trying to protect it themselves. What I've shared here is really just the tip of the iceberg, and I only shared it with his sisters because it was directly relevant to the conversation. It's not like I went out of my way to point out the furry porn he shares on his public Twitter account, or why he was fired from his minimum wage job, or how he only showered once a month and only after I begged him to, or why all of our old friends have them blocked on Instagram.